Hi, my name is Mateusz Ostafil. I'm a developer advocate at Alokai. I hope that by the end of this video, you'll have a full understanding of Alokai's architecture and some basic extensibility and customization capabilities. Let's start with a short demo of what Alokai is, if you haven't seen it already. Alokai is a frontend as a service for your e-commerce. Right out of the box, you get a full-featured storefront deployed to Alokai Cloud. Here you can see a homepage, which is fully CMS-driven. You can connect Alokai to any content management system. We provide pre-built integrations for Bloomreach, Contentful, Content Stack, Builder, and Appliance. We offer multi-site, multi-language, and multi-currency capabilities. Here we have a currency and language selector. We can change the language and currency. And based on that, we'll see a localized content and product information. Login and registration are also supported. So let me log in. Here I can see and edit my account details. Now let's try searching for some product. For example, a t-shirt. Here we can see search results provided by the search engine. And this could be any search engine. By default, we use search engine from the e-commerce platform that you use. However, we also provide integrations with Algolia, Covio, or Bloomreach Discovery, and you can easily switch these search engines. Alright, let's quickly jump to a product details page, so I can learn more about the product. Here I can select the size, read more information, and add the product to cart. From here, I might want to visit the cart. So I click on the cart icon and I see all the details about my cart. Here I can modify the cart contents, see the order summary, add a promo code, and go to checkout. Checkout process is also implemented. Here I will see my contact information. I can edit shipping address, select the shipping details, and add a payment method. Let me just paste in some fake credit card number, confirm that I have read and agreed with the terms and conditions, and place the order. The order is placed. Now I can see the order in my account. These were not all user-facing features of Alokai. We provide a lot more, like quick order or ASM via installable modules. What you have just seen was not a single product, it was a suite. We divide our products into 3 categories, which are aligned with the development process: build, connect, deploy. And build is a set of tools for building the front-end. Connect is a set of tools for connecting that front-end to the back-end services. And deploy is our cloud infrastructure where you can deploy and manage Alokai solutions. On a high level, Alokai's architecture looks like this. We have a storefront, middleware, both deployed to Alokai Cloud. The middleware connects to external backend services like e-commerce engines, CMSs, payment providers, and search engines. You might ask, why do we need the middleware? Cannot just Storefront directly connect to backend services? Well, it can, however, it comes with a price. Forcing the Storefront to do data integration and orchestration hurts performance and maintainability. The Storefront should be just the UI. It is the middleware that should do the heavy lifting of data processing. Zooming in. The Storefront is Next or Next.js application that is built out of Storefront UI components and uses Alokai SDK to connect to the middleware. The middleware is just an Express.js application that uses Alokai integrations to communicate with different backend services. I know that this architecture might look overwhelming at first. However, it is not more complicated than a usual Storefront would be. That's because it does the same job, however, in a better way. Let me explain why. This architecture allows for easy data orchestration, which is data manipulation between different backend systems. This is a heavy operation, so moving it away from the storefront to the middleware improves the performance. This also gives you a nice separation of concerns, so the storefront is responsible only for visual part and middleware takes care of all heavy data processing. Our SDK is technology agnostic. This means that this is a purely TypeScript package which you can run in any JavaScript environment. So for example, you can build a React Native application, and this is the omni-channel capability. On the other end, our architecture allows composability. This means that you can easily switch e-commerce engine to something else without modifying the storefront. The middleware decouples the backend services from the storefront. The ability to switch between different e-commerce engines is achieved thanks to our unified data layer. While working with different e-commerce engines, we have found out that they basically all do the same job, which is enabling online shopping experience. So we came up with a unified data model, which is a common abstraction over different e-commerce platforms. This is how it works. The API client calls the backend engine to fetch the raw data. It could be SAP Commerce Cloud, BigCommerce, Commerce Tools, or whatever. Then the normalizer converts the raw data into normalized data. And the normalizer is simply just a function that does this conversion. Then the SDK gets the normalized data, and this type of data is used all across the storefront. So you can switch the e-commerce engine and storefront won't notice that. However, standardization all across the board is counterproductive or sometimes even not possible. That's because each e-commerce engine offers its own distinctive features, or you might build some customization on top of that. To handle that scenario, the middleware makes the raw data always available to the SDK. The last architectural topic is extensibility. Alokai is not a cookie cutter solution, so it gives you a full control over your application. Our products are provided to you in two kinds: white box, which means they are provided as code, or black box, which means they are provided as a library or package. The extensibility of the white box part is pretty simple. You get a starter code, and from that point you develop it further on your own. The black box is a little bit more complicated, so let me focus on that. The SDK and the middleware can be customized via providing configuration or extensions. Both SDK and middleware are only about the data, so you can customize the data flow at any stage, which gives you a full control of that process. For example, you can override the out-of-the-box normalizers that we've discussed previously, or you might intercept the backend requests. Or you might want to subscribe to some data events in the SDK. There are many more options which you can read about in our documentation. Now, let me show you how extensibility looks like in practice. I'll do a little coding, but this is not a coding tutorial. The point of this video is to give you an overall look and feel of working with Alokai. So don't get intimidated when you don't understand the implementation details thoroughly. Here on the left, I have Visual Studio Code with Alokai Starter repository opened. On the right, I have a live preview of a running application. Let's go through the code structure first. It is a monorepo containing both the middleware and the storefront. The storefront is a pre-built Next.js application. Let's review its structure. Here we have components folder that contains all the UI components built with Storefront UI. For example, add to cart button. Then we have a config folder, which obviously contains some configuration like default SEO props. Next, we have a folder whose name depends on what CMS has been picked during the installation. In this example, it is contentful. This folder is not a part of Storefront application itself. It contains a schema definition that you can upload to your CMS to work seamlessly with the Alokai storefront. Next, we have helpers, which are various utility functions like formatters. Then we have hooks, used in the application to communicate with the middleware via SDK. For instance, here we have Use Product Details hook. All the hooks use 10-stack query for state management. Having this in your project gives you great flexibility in controlling data fetching behavior. Here we have a couple of predefined Next.js layouts. Here's the Pages folder, which contains pre-implemented pages. We have Category page, My Account pages, Order confirmation pages, Product Details page, CMS pages, cart page, login and registration page, and search results page. Public folder contains assets like images. In the SDK folder, we configure our SDK. SF modules folder contains code installed by our additional modules. Static contains some static data, and styles of course contains some SCSS files. However, only a few, because the project uses Tailwind CSS. The last folder is types, which ensures the type safety all across the project. Last but not least, the project contains some best practice configurations. For example, we have ESLint and prettier configuration. There's also a lint staged config that prevents committing code that doesn't meet high standards. Okay, now let's head over to the middleware. As I've mentioned before, it is an Express.js application. The middleware config is the file where we set up our integrations. In this particular project, we are starting with two integrations: Contentful as CMS and SAP Commerce Cloud as Commerce Engine. You can find specific integrations configurations in the integrations directory. SF modules folder, similarly as in the Storefront, contains files installed by our modules. Okay, we got familiar with the project structure. Now let's implement something. What's the first thing you might want to customize in your project? Of course, it is the logo. To replace the logo, we need to find where it comes from. We can either go through the source code and find that it is a part of navbar top, or we can use React DevTools to inspect the component. Let's replace the default logo with a Next.js image component. I've downloaded a sample logo from logoipsum.com. Great, we see that the logo has been replaced, but it doesn't look good on a green background. Let's fix that. Navbar top has a filled property that determines whether there should be a background or not. Let's remove it and see what happens. Okay, the logo looks better, but the buttons have disappeared. That's because they have the color set to white. Let's fix it by simply removing the class. Almost perfect, but the primary green color doesn't play well with the colors in the new logo. So I'll change the color palette. I'll go to the logo ipsum to check what is that pinkish color. I'll copy it over to UI colors, which is a color palette generator for Tailwind. And now I can copy the generated configuration and paste it into the Tailwind configuration. Finally, the header plays well with the logo. Now, let's make one more customization to our storefront. On the product listing page, I want the Add to Cart button to be full width, and I want the cart border to be a little sharper. Thanks to React DevTools, I know that the component I want to edit is Product Cart Vertical. Here's the Add to Cart button. Let's give it a full width. I can change the cart border by changing the class of this div. UI customization of Alokai is easy. You just modify the source code any way you want. So let's move on to something more challenging. On the PDP, there's information about whether the item is available for pickup. This text is hard-coded because pickup information is not a part of the unified data model, as the way of handling that differs greatly between e-commerces. Our goal is to make this text dynamic. We'll go to Purchase Cart component and get rid of the hard-coded text. We want this component to display pickup available or pickup not available, based on a condition. However, the product model doesn't provide any relevant information. There's a custom field, but it's currently empty. Fortunately, SAP Commerce Cloud provides pickup availability information along with the product data. To access this data, we need to extend the product normalizer, or in other words, add a custom field to the unified data model. We'll go to the middleware and configure it. The unified extension has a special field called Add Custom Fields. Here, we can extend the product normalizer. The input parameter is the raw product data coming from SAP Commerce Cloud, which contains available for pickup field. Now we can go back to our purchase card to see that the custom field contains the newly added property. This product is available for pickup, so the text didn't change. Let's find some other product to prove that this is dynamic. That's all what I wanted to show you regarding the extensibility. But that's not all what Alokai has to offer. My favorite Alokai products are Cloud and Console. From day one, CI/CD pipelines and cloud infrastructure are set for your project. Here you can see the console and information about this instance. From here, we can go to the live storefront. Now, let's deploy the customization that we have just made. To do so, I have to commit all my changes and push them to the repository. I'll push directly to the main branch, but please don't do this at home. This will fire GitHub actions that will deploy our solution. In your repository, you can find the definitions of these actions. Let's go to GitHub to see whether the actions have actually been fired. We need to wait a couple of minutes. And now we can see the deployed version of our storefront. I think this is great because it takes off lots of work needed to design and prepare continuous integration and performant infrastructure. Now I'd like to show you some of the features our console offers. The console is a tool for managing and monitoring your cloud infrastructure. Here's an overview of our instance. And here you can see the latest deployed version and inspect what has changed since the last deployment. It helps you find bugs quickly. In the auto-scaling section, you can see the resources used and running replicas. Usage shows you the used bandwidth and logs capacity. In the uptime section, you can check the health of your system and the related issues. Monitoring gives you deeper insights into this matter. Metrics like response codes and request latency are useful to find errors and performance bottlenecks. Memory usage can give you information about potential memory leaks. CPU usage shows how much of the computation power your instance is using. It's helpful that the deployments are marked with a dashed line. Thanks to this, you can identify whether a newer version improves the performance or deteriorates it. It also allows you to distinguish peaks caused by high traffic from peaks caused by a deployment. Here you can see and export detailed logs, and here you will find incidents that may cause problems to your application. The performance section is very useful. It allows you to run performance audits periodically and check how it's changed throughout the time. It also gathers real user experience from Google PageSpeed. Let's run a new audit now. The audit is ready. We can compare it with the previous one to observe an improvement. Here we have caching settings and metrics. Lastly, we have alerts that help you react quickly to incidents. You can find more information about the cloud and the console in our docs or Alokai Academy. Last but not least, I'd like to show you our Storefront UI, that is an open source component library and design system. It consists of plenty ready-to-use base components like a badge or a button. There are also blocks, which are more advanced components built out of the base components. For instance, here's a card block. You can copy over its code and adjust it to your needs. But Storefront UI is not only about the components, it's a design system, so there's a Figma file that you can use to bootstrap the design process of your project. The design system is aligned with the Storefront application, so it's simple to transfer the designs to code. For example, here we have a purchase cart component that we can modify any way we want. The developer can easily find what Storefront UI components have been used here to speed up work and prevent code duplication. That's all for now, but stay tuned for more.